Black CEO denied first-class seat 1 call, freezes 152 flights and $2, 1B in minutes. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. You need to step aside. First class is for actual executives, not people like you. The words exploded across the terminal like a slap made of steel. They weren't whispered. They weren't subtle. They were launched with the confidence of someone who believed the room belonged to them, someone who assumed the world would nod in agreement. Gate A-17 froze mid-breath. Rolling suitcases halted. Boarding passes fluttered. Conversations snapped in half. Hundreds of eyes turned toward the counter where a single black woman stood, poised, composed, and dressed in a navy suit that carried an elegance far louder than the insult just thrown at her. Nyla Carter didn't flinch. She simply blinked once slow, like she was giving the universe a chance to correct itself. The agent behind the counter, a woman in a crisp airline uniform and an expression sharpened by entitlement, crossed her arms. "Mom, I need you to move. We can't have people crowding this lane. First class only." She emphasized the last two words as if they were sacred, as if saying them granted her dominion over the air. A man in a business suit behind Nyla snorted. "Yeah, sweetheart. Priority passengers only. You're holding us up." Phones rose like dark periscopes, lenses tilting toward the scene. A teenager whispered, "She's gonna get kicked out." Someone else muttered something about security and standards. The ripples of judgment spread fast, too fast for reason to catch up. Nyla's boarding pass rested lightly in her hand. Her luggage, sleek, understated, expensive, waited by her heel. Nothing about her presence was out of place. Nothing except the assumptions being loaded onto her like baggage she never checked in. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Nyla Carter. The gate agent tapped her keyboard with exaggerated impatience, eyes flicking over Nyla's appearance as if searching for flaws. "You need to move to the economy line. This is first-class check-in. You can't just walk up here." "I didn't walk up," Nyla said softly. "I'm exactly where I was directed to stand." The agent laughed under her breath, unimpressed. "Sure you were." Nyla handed over her boarding pass. The agent snatched it, scanned it, then frowned with theatrical disbelief, like the machine was broken, like the universe had made a clerical error. "This can't be right." She scanned it again, and again. Each beep carried a new layer of hesitation. The businessman behind her sighed loudly. "Unbelievable. This is what happens when anyone can buy a ticket sale day." Another passenger added, "They really should screen better." Nyla's jaw didn't tighten. Her posture didn't shift. But the air around her did just slightly. A quiet tension settled, the kind no one could name but everyone could feel. The agent leaned forward, lowering her voice but not her arrogance. "Mom, I'm going to ask this one last time. Step aside before we call security." A few people smirked. Someone whispered, "She's about to be escorted." A woman with a latte shook her head sympathetically, but still recorded. Nyla exhaled slow, measured, and in that breath, the terminal changed. The background chatter dulled. The hum of the escalator dimmed. Even the announcement seemed to fade into a distant echo. The temperature didn't drop, but it felt as if it had. As if the room sensed something shifting beneath its feet. Nyla took her boarding pass back, slipped her phone into her hand, and glanced at the screen, not hurried, not flustered, but with the unfazed certainty of someone who knew exactly what power she held. A single notification blinked at the top, a reminder. Atlas Air Strategic Review Meeting, 2 p.m. The same airline, currently belittling her. She looked up, her gaze calm and unnerving in its steadiness. Because the agent didn't know who she was. The businessman didn't know. The crowd didn't know. But they were about to. Very, very soon. The laughter didn't return right away. It hovered thin, uncertain, like it wasn't sure whether it still had permission to exist. People shifted, glancing at one another, confused by the sudden stillness surrounding the woman they assumed would break, argue, or retreat. But Nyla Carter didn't retreat. She stood at the counter with a stillness so sharp it carved space around her. The agent felt it too. Her fingers froze above the keyboard, suspended between arrogance and a discomfort she couldn't name. "Mom," the agent said, the edge in her voice softening into something closer to caution. "I'm telling you, this ticket cannot be first class. There must be a mistake in the system." Nyla didn't raise her voice. "Show me the mistake." The agent hesitated. Her eyes darted to the growing crowd, then back to the screen. She angled the monitor away, shielding it as if protecting a secret she didn't understand. "I can't show you that," she snapped. Behind Nyla, the businessman shifted aggressively. "Just let her step aside already. Some of us actually have flights to catch." Someone else chimed in. "Yeah, this is ridiculous. I've never seen something take this long." What they meant but wouldn't say aloud was clear. "I've never seen someone like you slowing us down." A little girl holding her mother's hand tugged her sleeve. "Mommy, why won't they help her?" The mother shushed her quickly, avoiding Nyla's eyes. The agent clicked again. The screen beeped its confirmation beep, clean, unmistakable, definitive. Still, she shook her head. "No. This can't be first class." Nyla's gaze sharpened just slightly. "Why not?" The agent blinked, caught, because she stopped herself. Too late. The room felt her stumble. A wave of silence spread, rolling softly across gate A17. Nyla spoke again, her tone quiet but undeniable. "You scanned it 3 times. The system says what it says." "It's probably a glitch," the agent insisted, voice rising. "Or maybe you were upgraded? Accidentally?" "Accidentally," the businessman scoffed under his breath. "Right." Phones rose higher. Some passengers pretended to scroll, others openly recorded. Every lens was pointed at Nyla, the outsider being measured, doubted, dismissed in real time. The terminal lights flickered faintly overhead, and that was when things shifted. A supervisor stepped out from behind the gate podium, a man with a polished badge and the exhausted posture of someone who'd seen too many flight delays and not enough apologies. He approached cautiously, forcing a smile that tried but failed to bridge the tension. "What seems to be the issue?" The agent gestured dramatically at Nyla, frustration spilling out. "She's insisting this is a first-class ticket, but the system." "The system confirmed it," Nyla interrupted, gentle but unyielding. "It must be wrong," the agent said quickly. "It has to be wrong." The supervisor scanned the ticket himself. Beep, green, match, first-class priority 1. His eyebrows lifted almost imperceptibly. The agent leaned in. "But how?" The supervisor cut her off with a quiet, warning glance. "Let me handle this." He turned to Nyla, and something in his expression shifted as if, for the first time, he was truly seeing her. "Miss Carter," he said, reading the name aloud. "The system lists you as a priority 1 traveler. That classification is rare." Whispers scattered through the line. "Priority 1? Higher than standard first class?" What did that even mean? The businessman frowned. "Priority 1? Like VIP? VIP?" The supervisor nodded slowly. "It's reserved for partners, senior corporate stakeholders, and top-level global account holders." A hush fell. The agent's face drained of color slowly, visibly. Nyla didn't gloat. She didn't smirk. She simply held the boarding pass between her fingers, steady as stone. The supervisor cleared his throat, now choosing his words with care. "Miss Carter, if you'll allow me, I'll, personally, escort you to the lounge and to the aircraft when it's ready." A ripple of shock spread through the crowd. The businessman's jaw tightened. The latte woman lowered her phone. Someone muttered, "Wait, who is she?" Nyla lifted her gaze, and for the first time since the confrontation began, she smiled just a small, subtle curve of confidence and something deeper, heavier. Not triumph, not revenge, certainty. And that certainty wasn't just about her ticket. It was about what was coming, what the terminal didn't know, what the airline didn't expect, what the world would feel within minutes, because while they were busy questioning her right to stand in one line, she held the power to stop all of them from flying at all. The supervisor's words were still hanging in the air when Nyla's phone vibrated softly in her hand. One glance at the notification was enough to shift her expression by a fraction, small, subtle, but unmistakable to anyone paying attention. A reminder flashed across the screen. Atlas Air Executive Alignment Call, 2 p.m. mandatory. High priority. Her company's logo glowed beneath it. Most people would have dismissed it as just another meeting, but Nyla wasn't most people. She locked the screen before anyone could catch a glimpse. The agent who had mocked her just minutes ago took a hesitant step back. Her face was a war between disbelief and dread, as if the world had moved 3 inches to the left and she hadn't caught her balance yet. I didn't realize, she stammered. No, Nyla said softly. You didn't. The terminal seemed to quiet itself around her. Something about her presence, her restraint, her silence pulled the air tight with anticipation. Even the businessman who'd barked at her earlier shifted uncomfortably, the confidence draining from his posture. He tried to recover it with a dry laugh. Priority 1. That's just a fancy name for people who fly a lot, right? Doesn't mean anything real. But the supervisor's reaction said otherwise. He cleared his throat. Actually, sir, Priority 1 is reserved for individuals who hold strategic leverage over the airline's global operations. Leverage. That word traveled through the line like a cold ripple. Nyla's eyes stayed forward, steady. The supervisor continued. Atlas Air only has 6 Priority 1 travelers in the world. 6? Someone whispered. A teen filming said, Bro, she's like, important. But no one, not even the supervisor, understood just how important yet. Nyla stepped aside slightly, opening her phone not with annoyance, but with a quiet, deliberate clarity. Her fingers moved with the ease of someone who spent decades building empires, one decisive gesture at a time. She tapped an encrypted app. 2-factor authentication flashed. A secure channel opened. A name appeared. Apex Global Logistics Command. A voice on the other end spoke immediately. Miss Carter? Your 2 p.m. briefing is ready. Do you want to join early? The crowd couldn't hear, but the supervisor saw the header. His pupils tightened. Nyla answered with a calmness deeper than any apology the staff could have offered. Not yet. I need a status check. Yes, ma'am, the voice replied. All shipping corridors aligned. International freight routes stable. Flight integration system synced. 12 of Atlas Air's mainline routes are currently under your review window. The supervisor stiffened. The agent's mouth fell open just slightly. Atlas Air, under her review? Nyla turned away from them, giving the crowd a moment to stew in confusion. What about auxiliary routes? She asked. Those fall under your authority as well. Authority. Another word that rippled, though nobody in the terminal understood the scale. Send me the route visibility map, Nyla said. A holographic map flashed across her phone webs of red and blue lines representing aircraft paths, cargo movements, international nodes. She zoomed in on the regions marked Atlas Air. It was a network, a massive one, a network that her corporation, her empire, powered behind the scenes. The voice continued, Do you want to begin the freeze protocol early, Miss Carter? Freeze protocol. A quiet intake of breath escaped the supervisor. The agent's face drained even further. A few passengers leaned forward unconsciously, as if sensing that everything happening in this short exchange mattered far more than they understood. No, Nyla said, her voice calm, unhurried. Not yet. She ended the call, slipped her phone away, and looked at the people around her with an expression that was almost gentle. Almost. Because what they didn't know, what none of them could possibly know, was that the airline they were defending with so much entitlement depended on her. Her systems, her infrastructure, her approval, her silence. For now, the supervisor swallowed hard. Miss Carter, is there anything else we can assist you with? Yes, Nyla finally said, lifting her eyes. And when she did, something in the terminal tightened, like a string pulled too taut. Her voice remained soft, controlled, almost kind. Make sure your staff understands who they're speaking to before they decide who belongs. She walked past the counter, her heels steady on the tile, leaving behind a room full of people who suddenly realized they had misread everything. Badly. And what was coming next? They weren't ready for it. Not even close. The automatic doors to the first-class lounge slid open with a hush, but the atmosphere inside didn't soften. If anything, the moment Nyla stepped across the threshold, the tension followed her like a shadow. Heads turned. Conversations faltered. Something about her presence, quiet, poised, unshaken, shifted the air. She chose a seat near the wall of glass overlooking the tarmac. Beyond it, massive aircraft taxied slowly under the afternoon sun, their engines stirring heat waves across the concrete. Atlas Air's blue and silver livery gleamed on half the planes, the same airline that had just questioned whether she belonged. She placed her phone on the table beside her. Its black screen reflected her face, still calm, still restrained, but edged with a precision that hinted at something gathering beneath the surface. A storm shaping itself. Behind her, whispers grew. Is that the priority passenger? She made the agent look stupid. Who is she? I think she's somebody high up. They were questions asked too late. Curiosity after cruelty. Respect only after consequences. Nyla didn't acknowledge any of it. Her phone vibrated again. Apex Global Logistics Command Route Integration Team, secured line. She answered with a soft, steady, "Go ahead." "Miss Carter," the voice said. "Atlas Air has just pushed a request for emergency authorization. They're trying to secure corridor access for their next departure block. They need your approval to activate 152 routes." Nyla's eyes drifted to the window. An Atlas airplane paused on the runway, waiting for clearance that didn't exist yet. Not without her. "What's their urgency?" she asked. "They have 3 international hubs backed up, 2 cargo jets grounded, and a rising queue of passenger flights. They're expecting delays." The voice hesitated. "Major delays." Nyla rested her elbow on the table, fingertips grazing the edge of her glass. The lounge was quiet except for the soft clink of ice from another table. "And their executive liaison?" she asked. "Already requesting a call with you, ma'am." They marked it extremely urgent. Of course they did. A slow breath left her chest, not anger, not indignation. Just a quiet decision forming. "Patch it through," she said. A moment later, another voice filled her ear. Panicked, flustered, pretending to be professional but failing to hide the tremor beneath the corporate polish. "Miss Carter, this is Aiden Mercer, Vice President of Atlas Air Operations. We just received notice that our corridors are locked under your review." "Yes," Nyla said, unconcerned. He swallowed audibly. "We, didn't expect that. We're hoping to expedite clearance. Our flights are holding on the ground. And what?" she asked, her voice still soft. Silence. Then, a desperate breath. "We need your authorization, Miss Carter. Without it, the system won't release the flights." Nyla leaned back in her seat, eyes still on the runway, where a second plane had now joined the first, both waiting under the midday sun, engines idle, passengers oblivious to the invisible power holding them in place, power she hadn't yet chosen to use, power she had kept dormant until now. "Tell me something, Mr. Mercer," she began, her tone calm enough to unnerve. "Does your staff receive training on addressing Priority 1 passengers?" "Oh, absolutely, ma'am. It's mandatory protocol." "And do they follow that protocol?" "Of course," he said quickly. "We take it extremely seriously." A quiet hum escaped her, not laughter, more like disbelief tempered by patience. "I see." She didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. Aiden Mercer's breathing changed. He sensed the danger before she named it. "Miss Carter, what happened?" "There was an interaction," she said lightly, as if describing the weather. "One that revealed a lack of respect at multiple levels of your organization." He froze. "Was it serious?" he asked, his voice barely holding shape. "Yes," she said. "And avoidable." Another silence. This one deeper. "Miss Carter," he said carefully, "please, if you tell me what occurred, I'll address it immediately. Well, do whatever's necessary to correct the situation." Nyla watched a third plane roll into queue. 3 planes, 300 crew members, thousands of passengers, all waiting on the outcome of a single conversation. "I'll consider explaining," she said, "after your routes are handled." So you'll release them? He asked quickly. No, she replied. A tremor of panic entered his voice. Miss Carter. She cut him off gently, with the calm of a surgeon deciding where the first incision would go. I am initiating a temporary freeze on all active Atlas Air pathways. Effective immediately. Through the glass window, she watched as tower signals changed, small lights flickering red across the tarmac. Aiden's voice cracked. Miss Carter, please, this affects every major hub. This could halt the entire system. It already has, she said quietly. She ended the call. And for the first time, the lounge truly fell silent, because even those who didn't know what she'd done felt the shift. The kind that only comes when power stops choosing to be quiet. The first alert hit the terminal like a distant tremor, subtle, almost ignorable. A faint chime from the departure board, a flashing yellow next to Flight 382. Then another, then three more in rapid succession. Passengers looked up. Gate agents stiffened. The air sharpened. A second tremor followed. Stronger. System hold route unavailable. System hold route unavailable. System hold route unavailable. Within 60 seconds, the entire departures column for Atlas Air glowed the same pulsing amber. On hold. A hush spread through the terminal, spreading from gate to gate like a slow, creeping frost. Nyla never looked away from the window. Outside, the third plane had now fully stopped. A fourth joined behind it, engines spinning in idle impatience. The tarmac bristled with movement, ground crews rushing, radios crackling, signals flashing. Inside the lounge, every phone began buzzing with the same notification. Atlas Air Operations Update System-Wide Delay. Please stand by. A man in a gray suit cursed loudly. What the hell is going on? A mother clutching her toddler asked a staff member. Is it weather? No, ma'am, he said nervously. The weather's clear. A college kid whispered, Dude, did the system crash? Someone else muttered, No way. This feels bigger. It was bigger, much bigger. The supervisor from Gate A-17 burst into the lounge, breathless, eyes wide. He scanned the room and found Nyla instantly sitting calmly, legs crossed, as if she were observing her own storm from a balcony seat. Miss Carter? He asked, voice cracking. Yes, she said gently. We're, receiving urgent directives from corporate. Do you know anything about... He swallowed. A freeze? Nyla lifted one eyebrow. Not confirmation, not denial. Just enough to make his throat tighten. Behind him, the agent Hode mocked her, earlier appeared at the doorway, pale and trembling. She didn't dare step inside. Her hands twisted the hem of her blazer like she was trying to wring out guilt. She knew. They all knew. But the consequences had only begun. Nyla's phone vibrated again. Aiden Mercer calling. She answered without hurry. His voice came out in fragments, frayed by panic. Miss Carter, we're seeing over 150 flights frozen in your corridor lanes. Our entire international schedule is stuck. We need your authorization now. Need? Nyla repeated softly. The single word made him choke. Yes, we absolutely. We can't reroute without your command clearance. Nyla set her gaze on the runway, where the line of grounded aircraft now stretched like a stalled procession of giants. I'm aware, she said. Miss Carter, please, Aiden begged, the corporate veneer gone completely. This freeze impacts thousands of passengers, cargo shipments, international hubs. We're losing millions by the minute. 2.1 billion, actually, Nyla corrected calmly, projected over the next 10 hours. He inhaled sharply. You've calculated it? Of course. A silence thickened the line. Aiden's voice dropped to a whisper. Was it something we did? The lounge fell still, passengers listening without knowing why. Even the bartender paused mid-pour. Nyla's response was soft, measured, surgical. You disrespected the wrong person. Aiden exhaled a shaking breath. Tell me what happened. I'll fix it, I swear I will. Nyla tapped her nail once against the glass beside her, a small, crisp sound that felt like a verdict. You cannot fix what you cannot acknowledge, she said. And your staff did more than make a mistake. They revealed a culture. He faltered. A culture? Yes. One that assumes value based on appearance. One that decides who belongs before scanning a ticket. One that needs correction. Aiden's voice trembled. If you lift the freeze, I'll fire whoever. This isn't about one employee. A shaky breath. Then what do you want? Nyla didn't answer immediately. She let the silence stretch, heavy enough to bend the room. Outside, the fifth plane joined the queue, each aircraft becoming a blinking monument to a lesson years overdue. Finally, she said, I want your entire board online in 10 minutes. Aiden's breath caught. That's nearly impossible. No, she replied. What's impossible is your airline running without the systems my company supports. A pause. Then surrender. Well, assemble them. She ended the call. The supervisor stood frozen a few feet away, the agent trembling beside him like a child awaiting judgment. Nyla stood at last, smoothing her jacket with calm, deliberate grace. She walked past them both without a word, not from cruelty, but from clarity. Because the moment she had stepped into that first-class line, they thought they were deciding whether she belonged. Now she was deciding whether they would fly at all. The conference room wasn't a room at all. It was a digital war table, 12 executives appearing in neat squares across Nyla's screen, each one lit by the cold glow of panic. Suits undone, ties crooked, faces pale beneath fluorescent lighting. The board of Atlas Air had been assembled in record time. Fear was a remarkable motivator. Nyla connected to the call while still seated in the first-class lounge. She didn't stand. She didn't posture. She simply angled the camera so her face filled the frame steady, composed, backlit by the view of grounded aircraft outside. It was a picture that wordlessly answered their first question. Who has the power here? A man with silver hair spoke first. Chairman, clearly his voice trembling on the edge of authority and dread. Miss Carter, thank you for joining us. We understand there has been an operational disruption. Disruption? Nyla repeated softly. Is that what you call it? The chairman swallowed. Well, yes. You have 152 flights frozen, 3 airports at gridlock, international cargo stalled, and a projected loss of $2.1 billion by nightfall. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Numbers were their own violence. Another executive, a woman with diamond earrings and nerves made of glass, leaned in. Miss Carter, please, we had no idea you were traveling today. Had we been notified, Nyla cut her off gently. That's the point, isn't it? You believe respect is conditional, dependent on who you think someone is. A ripple of discomfort moved through the board. Behind Nyla, someone in the lounge recognized her voice from the earlier confrontation and froze mid-step, eavesdropping without pretending otherwise. The chairman cleared his throat. May we ask what happened? You may, Nyla replied. Then she didn't elaborate. She let the silence stretch, forcing them to feel the weight of the question they should have asked hours ago before systems froze, before planes halted, before their empire trembled. Finally, the chairman whispered, What did our staff do? Nyla folded her hands. Your staff acted exactly how they were trained. Murmurs erupted. Trained? We never. That can't be, she interjected calmly. Trained to treat worth as something visible, wearable, familiar. No one dared speak. They saw a black woman travel alone, Nyla continued, and assumed she didn't belong in the line she was standing in. Her gaze sharpened not with anger, but with precision. That assumption cost you $2.1 billion. Several executives clenched their jaws. One exhaled a curse under his breath. Another rubbed his temples as if trying to massage the consequences away. The chairman finally asked, What do you want us to do? Nyla stood, lifting her phone. Through the window behind her, the stalled aircraft gleamed under the sun like steel confessions. I want systemic correction, she said. Not a sacrificial firing, not an apology statement crafted by PR. A younger board member leaned forward, voice hopeful. We can revise the first-class training modules. No, Nyla said calmly. You will rebuild them. The woman with diamond earrings nodded quickly. Of course. A full audit of staff conduct and executive conduct, Nyla added. The woman stiffened. Nyla continued. Everyone who shapes culture must be accountable for the culture they shape. A hush. A truth too direct to dodge. And, Nyla said, You will fund a scholarship and aviation program for underrepresented youth. 5-year commitment. Minimum of $100 million. The board froze. One executive sputtered. 100. Another hissed. That's, Nyla tilted her head softly. That is the cost of not knowing who you were speaking to. The words slid into the call like a blade dipped in velvet. The chairman exhaled, heavily crushed by inevitability. We can agree to that. Nyla nodded once. Good, then I'll release your flights. Gasps rippled through the screen. But she added, before I do, I want every member of this board to acknowledge that what occurred today was not an anomaly. A long, brittle silence followed. Then the chairman spoke, voice quieter than before. It wasn't. We understand. Another board member. We take responsibility. Then another. We will correct the culture. Their words tumbled out in fragments, not rehearsed, not polished, just raw, necessary truth. Nyla ended the call. Not with a dramatic flourish, not with a speech, just a quiet click, and as the screen went dark, she looked out the window once more. One by one, runway lights shifted from red to green. Engines roared back to life. Wheels began to roll. A grounded empire moved again because she allowed it. The lounge watched in silence, realizing they weren't witnessing a tantrum. They were witnessing a reminder that power doesn't need volume, just clarity. The shift was immediate, so immediate that the lounge felt it before the intercom even spoke. Engines thundered back to life outside. Runway signals blinked from red to green. Ground crews snapped into motion like a machine waking from a long, stunned sleep. A man by the bar whispered, "They're moving again." A woman near the window murmured, "Did she just unfreeze all that?" But no one asked loudly, because by now, every passenger in that lounge understood one thing. The woman they dismissed, doubted, and recorded was not someone to question. She was someone whose decisions redirected the sky. Nyla slipped her phone into her bag with the quiet finality of someone who had completed something necessary, not triumphant. Her pulse hadn't risen once. Her breath stayed the same steady rhythm it always was. Control didn't need adrenaline, just intention. A notification flashed on the departure board. Atlas Air flights, resuming operations, expect delays, system recovering. The room exhaled collectively. Relief, confusion, awe. A little boy tugged his mother's sleeve. "Mom, did she fix the planes?" His mother didn't know how to answer, so she simply said, "Something like that." Across the lounge, the gate supervisor approached Nyla slowly, like someone walking toward a judge rather than a traveler. The agent who'd insulted her followed several steps behind, trembling, unable to meet Nyla's eyes. The supervisor cleared his throat, voice low. "Miss Carter, the board just emailed us. You've been assigned full concierge service for this flight. Priority escort. Pre-boarding. Anything you need." Nyla nodded politely. "Thank you." He lingered, guilt bending his posture. I want to apologize again for what happened at the gate. It wasn't right, and it wasn't." He struggled for the word. "Professional." Nyla met his gaze with calm steadiness. "Correction is more important than apology." He swallowed hard. "Understood." The agent finally stepped forward, voice cracking. "Miss Carter, I am so sorry. I didn't know who you were." Nyla's expression didn't soften, but it didn't harden either. "That," she said quietly, "is the problem." The agent froze, not because Nyla was cruel, but because the truth was too precise to dodge. Nyla rose from her seat. As she did, the room reacted like a tide, shifting around a lighthouse, people moving aside instinctively, clearing a path without being asked. Not out of fear, not even out of guilt, out of respect, the kind that should have been there from the beginning. Outside the window, an Atlas Airjet began to taxi forward, the first in nearly an hour. Engines roaring, wings cutting through heat, a symbol of what had just been restored. But inside the lounge, the atmosphere said something else entirely. Power hadn't returned. It had simply been revealed. Nyla picked up her bag and walked toward the boarding doors, her stride calm, measured, unhurried, like the outcome of the entire airline didn't rest behind her, even though it did. And as she passed through the lounge, not a single person lifted their phone. Not to record her, not to question her, only to watch. The walk to the jet bridge felt different now, like the airport itself had shifted its weight. The hush that followed Nyla from the lounge wasn't fear or shock anymore. It was something quieter, steadier, heavier. Recognition. A flight attendant waited at the entrance of the bridge, posture sharp, nerves visible. Her smile trembled with sincerity rather than performance. "Miss Carter, it's an honor to welcome you aboard, truly." Nyla nodded once, accepting the gesture without basking in it. "Thank you, and if there's anything you need, please tell us." Nyla didn't respond with a request. Instead, she asked, "How long have you worked in aviation?" The attendant blinked, surprised. 11 years. Then you know the value of people who keep these systems alive." A soft exhale escaped the attendant's chest, something like relief, something like gratitude. Nyla walked on. Inside the aircraft, first class glowed with gold lighting and polished calm, but the energy wasn't the usual curated luxury. Every passenger turned subtly, not out of gossip, but in the way people turn when a truth has rebalanced the room. A man in a tailored suit stood. "Mom, please take my seat if it's better than yours." She shook her head. "No need. Keep your seat." He sat back down slowly, absorbing the gentleness in her tone. Nyla reached her row. Her seat, 1A, was immaculate, freshly set, a small, leather-bound envelope placed at the edge of the tray table. She opened it. "From the Board of Directors of Atlas Air, we acknowledge the failure, accept full responsibility, and commit to rebuilding what was broken. Your conditions will be met in full." Below the signatures, another line. "And thank you for giving us the chance to correct our course." Nyla slipped the card back into the envelope, her expression unreadable. The plane's captain emerged from the cockpit, a woman with graying hair and a posture forged from decades of takeoffs and landings. She approached Nyla with quiet purpose. "I heard what happened," the captain said. "That shouldn't have happened anywhere, especially not here." Nyla looked at her. "Then help make sure it doesn't." The captain nodded once, firm. "I will." She returned to the cockpit. The intercom chimed. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain announced, "thank you for your patience. We are now ready for departure. Today's delays were due to operational adjustments, and we appreciate your understanding." But her voice shifted imperceptibly, more grounded, more intentional, and we also remind everyone, you never know who's walking beside you. Treat every passenger with dignity. A few heads turned toward Nyla. She wasn't looking back. Instead, she gazed through the window as the aircraft began its slow roll toward the runway, engines steady, wheels humming over concrete that had moments ago been frozen under her command. A flight attendant approached quietly. "Miss Carter, before we take off, would you like a drink? Water? Tea?" Nyla considered it for a breath. "Water," she said softly. "And a copy of the passenger manifest." The attendant blinked. Of course, Nyla wasn't asking because she needed it. She was asking to remind the world power didn't have to shout. It could whisper, it could choose, it could correct. And as the plane aligned with the runway, engines building into a low, rising roar, the truth settled over everyone on board. She didn't just restore the skies today. She rewrote who they belonged to. The engines steadied into a deep, confident rumble as the aircraft climbed above the clouds, leaving the chaos, the judgment, and the broken assumptions somewhere far below. Up here, the sky was calm. Wide, unbothered, a perfect canvas for reflection. Nyla rested her head lightly against the seat, watching sunlight fracture into gold across the wing. The world always looked different from this height, smaller, quieter, unable to hide its truths. A soft chime sounded. A flight attendant approached, placing a sealed folder on Nyla's tray. "From corporate headquarters, Miss Carter," she said. "They asked that you receive this personally." Nyla opened it. Inside was a revised draft of the airline's new training directive, fast, comprehensive, sweeping. A complete rebuild of their passenger protocol. Embedded in the text were the words she had requested. "Respect is a requirement, not a reward." Below it, a note, handwritten by the chairman. "We understand the cost of failing to uphold this standard. It will not happen again." She closed the folder gently. Not with satisfaction. With certainty, the attendant hesitated. Miss Carter, may I ask something? Nyla looked up. Go ahead. When you froze the flights, were you angry? Nyla considered the question. The engines hummed steadily beneath them, carrying the plane higher. No, she said at last. I was responsible. The attendant nodded, absorbing it like a lesson, then stepped away. Across the cabin, the businessman who had mocked her earlier sat rigid, unable to meet her eyes. He wasn't afraid she would retaliate. He was afraid she already had and done it without raising her voice. He stood shakily and approached her row. Miss Carter, he began, voice tight. I owe you an apology. I misjudged you. Nyla didn't look up right away. She took a measured sip of water, set the glass down, then met his stare with calm neutrality. You misjudged yourself, she said. Not me, he swallowed, nodding slowly, and returned to his seat, the truth landing heavier than any reprimand. The cabin dimmed as the plane leveled off, sunlight washing the aisle in warm, forgiving light. Nyla gazed at the passing clouds, soft, endless, indifferent to titles or assumptions. Her phone buzzed once more. A message from her chief operations officer. System fully restored. Freeze lifted. Board compliance confirmed. Proud of you. E. Nyla typed back, Good. Now let's make sure they stay aligned. She slipped the phone into her bag. Not everything needed an audience. Power worked best when it moved with intention, not spectacle. The captain's voice returned over the intercom, gentle this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached cruising altitude. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the remainder of your flight. The plane steadied, slicing cleanly through a stretch of blue so clear it looked untouched. And for the first time since stepping into the airport hours earlier, Nyla closed her eyes not to escape, but to breathe. Because justice didn't always roar. Sometimes it whispered, sometimes it redirected the sky, and sometimes quietly, decisively it reminded the world, respect is not optional,